Welcome, everyone. My name is Mary Eleanor Power, and I am the Director of Marketing and Communications for Dalhousie University's College of Continuing Education. And I'm delighted to welcome you to today's webinar, Introduction to Blockchain, Bitcoin, and Cryptocurrencies. And I would like to introduce you to today's host, George Levy. And George is the founder and chief learning officer at Blockchain Institute of Technology, a leading professional training and certification organization focused on blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. George is also department head at Blockchain at Blocks EDU, a provider of quality courseware for universities, colleges, and education providers with clients worldwide. A dynamic, fully bilingual English and Spanish keynote speaker, George is the creator and online instructor of many best-selling and top-rated courses. His online courses on blockchain and cryptocurrency have been taken by more than 60,000 students in over 180 countries. So welcome, George. I know that you want to walk us through a lot of information today. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us, and take it away.
Thank you very, very much. I want to thank everybody in today's session for joining me in this session, Introduction to Blockchain, Bitcoin, and Cryptocurrencies. This event is actually a collaboration between Blocks EDU and Dalhousie University. And I want to thank you for being here. I also want to let you know that I'm actually one of the instructors for the Blockchain Certificate Program, the Blockchain, Bitcoin, Cryptocurrency Certificate Program that we'll be talking about. But let's go quickly into the content because we have a lot to cover. You read some information about me. I want to start this whole session by actually getting to know a little bit more about you. And to do that, I'm actually going to start a poll just to understand from the audience here, just to get a lay of the land, how many cryptocurrencies does the audience that we have here today have? And notice, I'm asking all the way from 0 to 11 plus. And I'm doing that intentionally because when I started teaching these courses, my question always was, who has heard about Bitcoin? By now, everybody knows Bitcoin. So then I started asking how many people have Bitcoin. And then I realized some people had considerably more Bitcoins, so considerably more cryptocurrencies. So I added it all the way to 11 plus because I've actually met people who have 40, 50 different types of cryptocurrencies. And all of this is actually going to be very clear to you as we go through this course. So I'm actually going to give it 4 more seconds so I can actually get the brunt of people here. And so here is the poll. So right now, hopefully you can actually see it. And I see that the brunt, 84% of the audience doesn't have any cryptocurrencies. Okay, we'll see how you feel about it after you complete today's introduction. And but we also have some people that have 2 to 5 cryptocurrencies. I just taught a session last week where I had a person in class that actually had over 20 different cryptocurrencies. And so the space is definitely growing. And as people get educated, they become more and more comfortable with doing it. So one thing I will say now as we go, huge development in the blockchain, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency space. Tesla invested $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. This actually shot Bitcoin to a brand new all-time high. A lot of people trust Elon Musk. Elon Musk has been talking about cryptocurrencies for some time, but to see him take $1.5 billion of Tesla's cash, that's approximately 7.7% of all the cash that Tesla had, and he put it into Bitcoin. Huge vote of confidence for Bitcoin. And it really has made a lot of other companies look at it and feel more comfortable about it. In fact, one thing that I was going to share, Apple Pay can now be used to spend Bitcoin. Huge development. A lot of people that are using Apple Pay now, they have the opportunity using a provider called BitPay. You can actually have your Bitcoins and you can pay using Apple Pay. And you're going to be seeing more and more of that as more companies get involved in Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space grows. So let me get into the substance of this. One thing I want to let you know is that I'm actually currently in Miami. I am based in Miami. And I've been very, very actively involved with Miami. In fact, I'm here with the mayor of Miami, and he was actually awarding the keys to the city of Miami to the Blockchain Center. I was at the opening of the Blockchain Center in Miami, Florida. But the mayor of Miami has just announced that they're going to start offering employees of Miami to be able to get their salaries. If they want a percentage, they gotta get the entire salary, but they can get a percentage in Bitcoin instead of getting paid in US dollars. They're also gonna start accepting payments for taxes in Bitcoin. They're gonna be accepting different fees paid in Bitcoin. So these are huge developments as Miami is positioning itself to be very crypto friendly and push forward the growth of cryptocurrencies. But as we go through this introduction, you're gonna start seeing why I talk about blockchain, I talk about Bitcoin, I talk about cryptocurrencies. Let me tell you what we're going to talk about today, because it's going to put a lot of things in context. First and foremost, this is a site called coinmarketcap.com. This actually site tracks the price of the prices across the entire cryptocurrency market. These are the kind of learnings that you pick up in the certificate program. I'm just giving you a taste so you get comfortable with what it's like. This is the current cryptocurrency market. There's Bitcoin's the #1 cryptocurrency. Right now, it's at about 51,500. Last time I checked, a little earlier, was 52,000. And the market cap is over $1.5 trillion for the cryptocurrency market. What it really tells you also is that Bitcoin is just one cryptocurrency. There's over 8,500 different cryptocurrencies. All of these are topics that you'll be able to learn about more if you actually choose to take the certificate program. But I want to give you as much value as I can in this introduction so you get a taste for the entire opportunity. So let's go about what we've covered today. We're going to start first with where are the blockchain jobs. You're going to see what an incredible opportunity blockchain is. A lot of people don't realize it, but right now, a lot of recruiters are looking for people that have blockchain in their resumes. I'm going to tell you where those blockchain jobs are. I'm going to then tell you about Bitcoin. We noticed that 84% of the audience did not have Bitcoin. Well, now you'll know what Bitcoin is. I'll then tell you what is blockchain. I'm really giving you a taste here. And to tell you, this is just scratching the surface of what's available. And then I'm going to tell you some possible next steps if you want to learn more about it through Dalhousie University. So let me tell you a little bit about the blockchain jobs. So who's hiring right now? Startups are hiring. And just to put things in context, there's over 1,500 crypto startups that have raised over $3.7 billion just in the US through something called initial coin offerings. Now, these initial coin offerings are a new way of raising funds, very similar to IPOs, initial public offerings, but these ICOs use cryptocurrency, and it's a brand new way to raise funds. Other firms that are actually hiring, legacy firms, financial industry is hiring, healthcare is hiring, logistics is hiring. You're going to see about it as we go through this presentation today. The retail industry is very actively hiring. You're going to see how blockchain ties into all these industries. Technology companies are very, very aggressively hiring. Microsoft is hiring for blockchain, IBM, Google, Amazon, all of these companies have positions right now open for people that know blockchain technology. And it's not all developers. There are many opportunities for people that not developers. You don't have to be a software developer to work with blockchain. So these are the key things that I want you to understand where these opportunities are. And if you search for blockchain, you search for cryptocurrency, if you look for these for job listings, you're going to find that there are many opportunities. And I'm going to cover some of those today. Who else is hiring? Governments. Governments are very aggressively hiring. Just in the United States of America right now, the Department of Homeland Security has said that blockchain and distributed ledgers, as you learn more about blockchain technology, you're going to learn that it's also called sometimes distributed ledger technology. And you'll learn more about that as you go through. They're innovative technologies that have many uses and applications across multiple sectors of the economy. Blockchain is really making its way across many, many industries. Canada is at the forefront of the blockchain sector, as you can see here, because there are many, many developments coming out of Canada. And I'm actually going to touch upon some of those specifically a little later in this introduction today. But Canada is truly a visionary country when it comes to blockchain. Canada became a leading blockchain country in 2020. This was actually looking at the level of investment, the level of technological innovations. Canada is truly, truly at a very high level. Okay. One thing that most people need to understand is that blockchain is the #1 job skill, or was listed the #1 job skill for 2020, according to LinkedIn. It's the #1 most in demand job skill across industries. And the big issue is that there is a lack of skilled talent. Many people just don't understand blockchain, but you have all these companies that are really betting big on Bitcoin, betting big on blockchain, betting big on cryptocurrencies, but the staff does not know blockchain, Bitcoin, and cryptocurrency. So you saw Tesla just bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. Well, they better have some people within the Tesla organization that understands Bitcoin, understand cryptocurrencies, especially if they're going to be taking cryptocurrency as payment for their cars. So these are key things that these companies are looking to hire. That's why there's such a huge demand for blockchain talent. So let me tell you now, let's start going into the really meat and potatoes of this presentation. What is Bitcoin? So just to give you a little bit of historical background why Bitcoin exists. Bitcoin was actually born from the depths of the financial crisis in 2008, when the entire global financial markets crashed. The whole world was actually experiencing a huge economic downturn. From the bottom of that, on October 31st, 2008, a white paper was published. That white paper was called Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. That white paper presented the vision of what now is Bitcoin. Bitcoin was born because of the financial crisis. It was an alternative to the banks. That's why Bitcoin was created. Bitcoin is a new way of looking at money that does not require banks. I'm going to teach you more about that, but therein lies the big opportunity. It's truly a disruptive technology that was meant to disrupt banks. The banks were there, but the banks were failing. The banks were completely crashing. And while the banks were getting bailouts, the average individual was not getting the bailouts that the banks were getting. Enter Bitcoin. That is what I need you to understand. So within the Bitcoin white paper, there's a statement. It was the opening statement. A purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. I really want to give you that little nugget of knowledge so you understand how revolutionary Bitcoin truly is. What's the big idea? Whenever you send money from one person to another over the internet, you need to use the services of a third party, like a bank. You need PayPal. You need a credit card. You can't simply just attach some money to an email and send it to someone else. That's not possible. You need that third party. Here's the challenge with that. That third party controls that transfer. In fact, that third party could decline letting you make that payment. That third party could reverse that payment. You could wind up just simply not being able to make the payment because the bank disagrees with you. Bitcoin's not like that. Whenever you send Bitcoin to someone else, you do that directly. It's peer-to-peer. And it travels over a network of thousands of computers all around the world called the Bitcoin network. Now, the Bitcoin network is not owned by anybody. It's actually a network of thousands of computers that really don't have a CEO or an owner that basically could shut down the network. In fact, I run what's known as a full node, and you can learn about that in the certificate program. A full node in my house. It's just a computer that I run in my house, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, processing and validating Bitcoin transactions all day long. And like me, there are thousands and thousands of other people that are running computers at home. I didn't have to ask permission to run that. Nobody can shut me down. It's just my computer running at home. I'm part of the Bitcoin network. These transactions transfer across that network of thousands of computers around the world. And all that information is recorded on blockchain. You see the tie-in? Blockchain is one of the underlying technologies that makes Bitcoin possible. That's why it's the Blockchain, Bitcoin, and Cryptocurrency Certificate Program. People don't realize that they're tied. As a result, a Bitcoin transaction is disintermediated. You don't have an intermediary party that's actually going to say, you can't do that transfer, or, you know what, you're going to do a reverse on that one. Basically, just give the money back, charge back. They don't do that. In Bitcoin, it's disintermediated. It's distributed because there are thousands of these computers all over the world. There's not a centralized entity like a bank they could just hack and take down. You'd have to take down the entire internet to be able to take down the Bitcoin network. It's decentralized because there is no central entity that controls all of Bitcoin. That is, there's no CEO of Bitcoin that can change the rules on you or just suddenly say, you know what, I don't like you, I'm just going to close your account. It's decentralized. And it's known as trustless. Trustless because you don't have to trust that the bank will let you do the transaction. The trust is built into the software. The Bitcoin protocol already has built in the ability to be able to transfer, do that transaction. It's considered trustless. Because of this, Bitcoin and the use of blockchain is known as programmable trust. Whenever you need to add trust into any type of transaction, you can use blockchain. That's where things start getting interesting, because once you can do this incredible transfer of value that is a Bitcoin over the internet, you can do lots more things with it. Therein is the true value of this technology. So key things I want to point out to you right now is that Bitcoin's only one application of blockchain. And as you'll learn, yes, there's over 8,500 cryptocurrencies, but cryptocurrency is just one application of blockchain. There's a lot more stuff you can do with it. I mentioned there's 8,500 different cryptocurrencies. The total cryptocurrency market cap is over $1.5 trillion. Now we're talking over $1 trillion. And just in the past 24 hours, we had over $100 billion worth of volume trading in the cryptocurrency markets. I want to give you now a taste of Bitcoin at work. So you see what's going on while we're having this conversation. And this is actually a really cool visual that I want you to get. Okay. And I hope you're being able to see that. Let me get into the section here. I want to make sure that you're able to see this participation of what's going on. Q&A, no open questions. Okay. I want to make sure that I don't leave anybody. All of these are transactions happening right now. All the information on the Bitcoin blockchain is public. Anybody can see these transactions. You'll see they're happening all over the world. They're happening in the US. You saw a little while ago happening in Dublin. They're happening in France. They're happening in Montreal. This is happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all day long. Never takes a break. There's no holidays. There's no closing of the stock market. There's no anything. Just Bitcoin works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week globally. I want to take you to a different visual. And this one actually I love too. This is actually tracking fiat. Fiat currency is like dollars, Canadian dollars, euros. This is currency that's issued by a central bank. This is actually these types of currencies being traded into Bitcoin. We're just looking at Bitcoin right now. You're looking dollars being traded into Bitcoin. You're seeing euros here. Here you're seeing Brazilian reais. You're seeing here Korean currency. This is all available publicly. You can see how all of this is happening right now. Look at the massive size of this market just happening all the way in the background. People don't realize the incredible opportunity that's going on right now. So this is Bitcoin at work. Bitcoin's working as we speak right now, transferring tens of billions of dollars a day, every single day, okay? So I want to now take you into blockchain. So you see, now that you know what a Bitcoin is, I want you to know what you could do with the blockchain technology, because once you have blockchain that enable the Bitcoin to happen, there's a lot more you can do with blockchain technology. So let me tell you really quickly what a blockchain is, and I'm going to give you as simple a description as you can. In the certificate program, should you want to participate, you'll learn a lot more intricacies, but I want to give you as simple an explanation so you understand the genius behind this concept, okay? If you want to do a transaction of an asset of value, say, for example, I want to give you $5,000 for you to do a service or for you to sell me something, we need to agree on some things. The first one is that we need to agree on the terms of the transaction, yes? We also need to agree that once that transaction happens, that it's final. That is, if I give you $5,000 for something, you're not going to be, I'm not going to reverse it on you and take back the 5,000. I want to make sure this is completely agreed. So in order to make that transaction, instead of each party, that is party A and party B, recording on a ledger of their own that transaction, say, for example, party A says, I am giving $5,000 to party B. Party B records on her own ledger. Party A gave me $5,000. This is how the world works right now. Banks have separate databases. Party A may have a bank account, and that bank account, they have $5,000, which they're going to transfer to party B, which has a separate bank account. If they do a $5,000 transfer, that's why party B has to wait until the check clears or the payment actually goes, because the second bank, party B, needs to update their database to make sure that that money was transferred. That's how the world right now is structured. The brunt of the world works on separate ledgers, keeping track of that information. This can be subject to errors. For example, party B could actually record the information wrong, or party A could make the information wrong. It could be subject to tampering. Say party B wants to game the system, or party A basically floats a check. They basically say, yeah, the check is in the mail. Well, party B simply doesn't know because they don't really know. They actually haven't gotten the check cleared, right? The information could get deleted. Say, for example, party B's bank could get hacked and basically that information is lost forever, right? The information can be deleted if you have a single point of failure. The info can also get lost. These are many, many vulnerabilities that you have with having these separate ledgers. Okay, let's talk blockchain now. One problem that we have with separate ledgers, this is my final one. There's always three sides to every story, like they say, your side, my side, and the truth. That's why you have sometimes, I sent you the check. The check is in the mail. Well, that's what Party A says, but Party B still hasn't received the money. As far as Party B knows, you're never going to get paid. These are vulnerabilities that you have with having these separate ledgers. Well, when you have blockchain, you have a single ledger. It's almost like being on the same page, you and I. We both agree on the terms of the transaction, and that information is shared. That is, we're both sharing that single ledger. But not only that, it's distributed. There's not just one copy of that ledger. There's thousands of copies of that ledger all around the world. I wanted you to get the vision of how powerful this technology really is. That information is recorded permanently. That is, every single transaction that's ever taken place in Bitcoin has been recorded permanently on the Bitcoin blockchain. And the information is immutable. You can never change it. Everything that's recorded on Bitcoin is permanent and immutable. And it serves as a single source of truth. If you ever want to know if a Bitcoin transaction happened, all you have to do is look at what's known as a block explorer, and you can look for that transaction. But anybody in the entire planet can look at that block explorer and verify that that transaction really happened. So you see, the power of this is there is only one version of the truth. That's very, very different from having separate databases. Sometimes Bank A has a version of your bank account, but version B still hasn't cleared to check. Well, who's really correct? If you have a single version of the truth, there's no doubt about it. It's permanent, it's immutable, and everybody sees it. This is why Bitcoin is a challenge to banks. It truly threatens what banks do. And that, in a nutshell, is what a blockchain is. There is so much more to learn, but I wanted you to get the grasp of what this powerful technology does. Now, when you think of blockchain, Bitcoin is only the first version of blockchain. It's the first version, the first generation of blockchain. There are other generations. The second generation is Ethereum, and I'll talk to you more about Ethereum. Ethereum is very important when it comes to Canada because one of the founders is Vitalik Buterin, who's Canadian. He's actually a Russian-born Canadian. He's the co-founder of Ethereum. He was born in Russia in 1994, grew up in Canada, and he created Ethereum, which is global. It's a global blockchain platform that's open source. And it's a platform what's known as decentralized applications. All of this will be covered in the certificate, but these decentralized applications have truly revolutionized technology and opened up many different opportunities. Ethereum lends itself and positions itself as the world's first programmable blockchain. What that means is that if you want to develop for Ethereum, you can just use Ethereum as a computer. It's a global computer, and you can just program onto Ethereum from anywhere in the world. You don't have to buy computers. The Ethereum network is out there. The Ethereum virtual machine, which is basically what runs Ethereum, is available to anyone. These are truly revolutionary concepts that did not exist prior to blockchain and now prior to the second generation, which is Ethereum. So that's the second generation of blockchain. Things have been evolving. There's a third generation of blockchains. And as we go on, and I'm not going to be able to cover all this in this introduction today, there's a lot more development going on when it comes to blockchains, okay? Some of the sectors that blockchain is being implemented in, I talked about the different blockchain jobs, but to really see to grasp really the importance of this technology, I want you to understand how many different networks right now are actively using blockchain to transform where they stand. I talked about banking and payments, but topics such as supply chain management. Supply chain management is huge when it comes to blockchain. Things such as insurance. Voting is a huge issue right now in the United States. Right now, there's a lot of questions about voter fraud. Well, blockchain is one of the key technologies that's being used to prevent or actually minimize the risk of voter fraud. In fact, the United States Post Office has a patent on blockchain mail voting. It wasn't implemented for these elections, but it's definitely in the pipeline, and they're working to see how to apply it for mail-in voting. Huge issue. But it's not just these industries. Let's start going into, I talked about government. The online music industry is using blockchain because if you really think about what truly impacted the music industry was the fact that when the internet was born, we had Napster. In the context of when Napster came, what was a song that you would have to buy, once you could turn it into a digital asset that you could share for free, an MP3, basically there was no need to buy a song. That's why the music industry basically tanked. With blockchain, you actually can create a digital asset that has value, like a Bitcoin. And if I share that Bitcoin with you, I'm not sharing it. I'm literally giving you the Bitcoin. I no longer have it. The music industry is really looking at that, because if you can make a digital asset, say a song or royalty payments, all these things, you can actually track them on the internet securely using blockchain is a huge, huge opportunity. And these are just a few of the sectors. There's more. To give you just a concept of Ginny Rometty's the former CEO of IBM. She estimates that blockchain applied to supply chain, global supply chains can result in more than $100 billion in efficiencies. As you get more into this space, the use of blockchain is very, very advanced when it comes to supply chain management. In fact, in the certificate program, I present several use cases I use right now. So I buy many products that I actually track on the blockchain, and I know exactly where they came from. Is blockchains have really made their way into supply chains. In Canada, blockchain is being adopted by Canadian banks to verify client identities. These are all real use applications right now. Now, let me ask you a question. If you're in the banking industry in Canada and you want to actually implement these projects and you don't have people and staff to actually be able to service them because people don't really understand blockchain, they really don't understand these opportunities, you have to hire from outside, or you have to find some sort of way to train your in-house staff. The fact is, there's a huge talent gap, and there is the big opportunity for those people who actually learn about these technologies. Blockchain is also being used as a useful tool against coronavirus. In COVID-19, the vaccines are actually being tracked right now. Huge development to using vaccine tracking through blockchain technology. In fact, the Homeland Security, the Department of Homeland Defense in the United States lists blockchain during the COVID-19 as a critical service. Blockchain managers, and that's a position that didn't exist prior to the launch of Bitcoin and blockchain actually becoming a mainstream technology. These jobs didn't exist before, but blockchain managers are now considered critical infrastructure workers. The Food and Drug Administration in the US says that food safety traceability is all focused on digital. Food safety and being able to get the provenance of all the food items we consume is all moving to digital platforms. And these digital platforms need blockchain, artificial intelligence, big data, all these technologies work together. But blockchain is one of the core technologies that allows that to happen. And now I want to just put a fun one because we're actually reaching the end. This is a crypto kitty. A crypto kitty, beyond being just a really cute cat, is also a digital asset. So just like I might have a Bitcoin that's worth $52,000, this crypto kitty sold for $114,000. So I want to also give you a big, big lesson in this. It wasn't $114,000. That crypto kitty sold for 246 Ether. Ether is a type of cryptocurrency. At the time of that sale, that cat was worth $114,000, which was 246 Ether. But that's not what it really cost. It was costing 246 Ether. This is Dragon. Dragon sold for $172,000 worth of Ether at the time. That was 600 Ether. So here's what I want to tell you where the lesson is. If you look at the price of Ethereum today, that is Ether, which is the cryptocurrency from Ethereum, which is at about $1,900. That 600 Ether for Dragon is actually $1,140,000. What that means is that the person that actually sold Dragon for 600 Ether, if they didn't sell the Ether into US dollars, today that Ether is worth $1,140,000. When you look at Bitcoin, when Bitcoin started, one Bitcoin was worth less than $1. Then it started gaining value. In 2017, it actually had a big, big bull run. It hit 19,000 at the beginning of 2018. And then they said the bubble burst, and then nobody thought Bitcoin would ever come back. In fact, many people actually panicked and they sold all their Bitcoins. But some retained their Bitcoins. And today, those same Bitcoins are worth over $50,000. So I got to tell you, whoever bought in at $19,000 made a great purchase, because today they more than doubled their money. Because you got to think about it. It's not about the dollars. It's about the value of these digital assets. That's the mindset I want you to keep in mind. These assets, these digital assets, have a value of their own. And yes, you can trade them for fiat currency like dollars or Canadian dollars, but they have a value of their own. The question is, where are we going? Banks say, JP Morgan says Bitcoin could rise to $146,000. Citibank thinks it might hit $318,000 because people that have been investing traditionally in gold are now saying, wait a minute, I don't have to park all my money in gold, which really hasn't been growing that much. Might as well take advantage of Bitcoin. So a lot of that money that has been being put into gold is starting to be invested in Bitcoin. And since, as you will learn, there's a limited amount of Bitcoins available, the price of each Bitcoin goes up. These are all lessons that you will learn as you get more involved in the space. So as I go here, I want to see if there are actually any questions. What are the primary vulnerabilities of Bitcoin blockchain and how can they be mitigated? Great question. So these topics are more covered in advance in the certificate program, but let me go very, very quickly on these. Some of the challenges right now that I would say from blockchain. A huge issue with blockchain is the fact that blockchain, all the information is permanent and immutable. It's recorded forever, permanently and immutably on the blockchain. Now that sounds great. But in some occasions, that might actually work against you. So for example, government records, especially when you have people who are actually here in the United States and globally, there is more and more a thing of actually being more free and open for people that actually want to control their identity. For example, say you're transgender. You used to be male, now you want to be female, or you were female and you want to be male. You may not want to keep a record of your previous gender. You may want to just be who you are. But if there's a permanent and immutable record of that, well, actually, that's recorded forever. So these are some challenges, and that's just one of them. One of the other things that I would say is like in the fact of in Bitcoin. So in some ways, great things about Bitcoin are the fact that a transaction in Bitcoin is permanent and immutable. There's no reversals. That's fantastic. But what if you're hacked, right? So the key things is that there are some vulnerabilities, but in many ways, this technology is very powerful and has some very, very revolutionary uses. One final question that I have here is, you say there are a limited number of Bitcoin. Great question. Bitcoin has what's known as a controlled supply. Very different from your typical digital asset. So for example, if I take a photo of you, right? And I take a photo of you and I mail it to someone else, I still have a photo of you in my phone, right? I could send 10 million, 50 million, 300 million copies of that photo and it wouldn't make a difference. In Bitcoin, there will only be a maximum number of 21 million Bitcoins created, and that will be reached by the year 2140. Bitcoins are created on a controlled supply. There's 6.25 new Bitcoins created approximately every 10 minutes by a group of people called miners. There's a lot more I didn't get to cover today in the introduction, but this controlled supply is what makes Bitcoin so valuable. The reason that Dragon is so valuable is that there is only one Dragon in this entire planet. Even if I have a picture of Dragon, that's not Dragon. Dragon, the digital asset for that crypto kitty, is owned by one person. And that person bought it for 600 Ether. So that's the key point I want to tell you. These digital assets now have a value of their own. And if I have it, only I have assets to that. You can tie that into a work of art. If I bought the Mona Lisa and it's worth, I don't know how many millions of dollars, I can assign a digital certificate to that Mona Lisa. And when I sell it, I have to assign that digital certificate to the new owner. It's incredible new ways that blockchain is being used. So let me talk to you about the next steps should you want to learn more. And the topics that you're actually asking me are fantastic. Many of these topics are covered and actually far more in the certificate program. So let me talk to you about the opportunity available with Dalhousie University. There's a certificate in blockchain, Bitcoin, and cryptocurrency from the College of Continuing Education. This program is 100% online. It's going to be starting on April 1st, and it consists of 3 modules. Each module is 6 weeks. Let me tell you briefly what each of the modules consist of. Module 1 is the introduction to blockchain and blockchain networks. I gave you a very, very, very high level introduction of blockchain, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. In module 1, you're going to really dive in. What is a blockchain? What's a blockchain composed of? Where do cryptographic hashes tie in? What are private keys? What are public keys? What is all of this technology that makes blockchain possible? All of that is covered at length in module 1. We also talk about the blockchain networks. Bitcoin is one such network, but there are many other networks. Module 2 gets you into blockchain platforms. Blockchain platforms, cryptocurrencies, and the digital economy. You see, cryptocurrencies are just one aspect of the big digital economy space. There's a lot more ways in which blockchain is tying and making its way into the overall digital economy. As you will learn, the whole world is moving progressively more and more into an entirely digital realm. We all live glued to these. This is us. So the answer is, how do we interact with the world using this? So all of this is covered in module 2. In module 3, we go into the future of blockchain. That is, we're in a moment in time. There's a lot more opportunities right now. But this is just a moment in time. And like I said, Bitcoin may be at $52,000, and that's just one thing. It's the price of Bitcoin. But where are we going with that? What other areas is blockchain making its way in? I'll tell you one thing. Blockchain every single day has a bigger impact into my life. So for example, my favorite type of coffee that I buy now is completely blockchain traceable. I know exactly who got that coffee for me. I know how it made it to me. I know it's genuine coffee. All of that is part of my life. And like that, is making more and more its way into many other areas. That's covered in module 3. Where are we heading? And these 3 modules give you a base knowledge to be able to go out and actually like become employed, to actually work into these opportunities, or get involved yourself and actually launch your own blockchain projects. Maybe you want to develop your own startup tying into blockchain and Bitcoin. And these are the types of knowledge that you're going to be able to learn from these 3 modules. So just very, very quickly, because I'm running out of time, who should attend? Anybody that's interested in learning about and using blockchain technology, Bitcoin, and cryptocurrencies. We had some people here that actually 84% of people don't have any Bitcoin. Well, I mean, something as simple as buying Bitcoin. And then how to store your Bitcoin safely, or where should I actually buy should I buy a full Bitcoin? All these things, those are really, really basic. But then you have people who really want to say, okay, so I'm actually interested in applying blockchain technology to a specific current application I'm in. My business does this. Will blockchain be a good fit? These are the types of questions and situations that you can gain value if you take the certificate. Those interested in adding technologies to their career profiles and resumes. Adding blockchain to your resume makes you more valuable. When recruiters are looking for who to approach and who to talk to, blockchain is one of the keywords that they're currently looking for. Big opportunity there. I also want to say that anybody that's currently working in financial, healthcare, retail, food, beverage, pharmaceutical, all these industries, blockchain is making its way into all these industries. And if you're aware of it, when there's a need for someone that actually knows these technologies within your firm, you're the go-to person, because guess what? Nobody else really knows these technologies. So it's a very, very good thing to know. For example, if I were to work inside Tesla, and all of a sudden there's this opportunity where Tesla just bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, and they're looking to accept Bitcoin for payment of Tesla vehicles, guess who's going to be looked at when they're looking for a promotion? Somebody that's actually be handling all the electronic payments. Well, if I actually have a certificate that actually includes Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, I'm the person to go to. And Tesla is just one company that's looking at that. You saw that Apple Pay is actually implementing Bitcoin. This is making its way. You're going to see Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies making their way into many other companies.
George, there are some awesome questions that are in the chat here in the Q&A. So
how are we doing on time? We're
a few minutes over, but we still have lots of people who are interested and engaged. And I just would love it if we could maybe hang on for a few more minutes if people would like to get their questions answered.
Absolutely.
So there are just a couple. So I'll just run through them rather quickly if we can.
I see that they're actually being brought in through the Q&A.
Yes.
I see that.
So
got it.
Best exchanges to buy crypto in Canada.
So, you know, there are several opportunities. I don't want to give you specifics. There are some, and we cover those. It depends specifically on what your needs are. So what I would tell you, like, for example, Coinberry is a very, very popular one that's actually worked. You might want to check Coinbase is also very popular. There's Binance, but I don't want to just marry myself to those. And what I will say is also depending on your needs. Are you an institutional investor? Or are you actually just a private investor? But what I would say, if you want to just take a look at it, Coinberry is actually a very popular one. Coinberry, like a strawberry. And Coinbase is another one that you may want to look at.
Okay. Is a transaction in Bitcoin confidential for the user, or is it public to all?
That's actually an excellent question. So let me give you, I'm actually going to go to you, and I'm going to give you one key point here. So you can see these. I'm actually going to take you right now to what's known as a block explorer. And you actually should be looking at my screen right now, and btc.com should be coming up. That's a block explorer. And if that one doesn't work, let me go to blockchain.com/explorer. These are what are known as block explorers. So here we go, btc.com, Bitcoin block explorer. Wait till it actually comes up. It's a little on the slow side. But what you will see is that it's actually going to give you, these are the latest blocks in Bitcoin. All this information is public. So right now, for example, the latest block on the Bitcoin blockchain, and as you learn about this technology, you learn the blockchain is built of blocks. And every 10 minutes, approximately, there's a new block added. This is the latest block, 671,140. In that one, you'll find that there's 2,679 transactions. And each one of these transactions is public. I'm looking at it. Now, the information is public. I know that this transaction consists of this Bitcoin address sent this amount to these several Bitcoin addresses, right? I don't know who owns this Bitcoin address. I don't know who owns these Bitcoin addresses. So it's kind of interesting to say, is it public or is it private? Well, it's public because right now I know that this is a Bitcoin address that's sent to these Bitcoin addresses, but I don't know who owns this Bitcoin address, right? So that's the key point that I want to tell you. Some people say that Bitcoin is anonymous. Bitcoin is not anonymous. Bitcoin is what's known as pseudonymous, because if you find out who owns this Bitcoin address, you know that that person who owns this Bitcoin address sent this amount of Bitcoin, which is actually 1,096. That's a lot of Bitcoins. At $52,000, that's a lot of money to these different addresses, right?
There are some questions here, George, and I wonder if I might be able to combine them. So a question about, is there a possibility of governments getting involved to fight terrorism or crime where the proceeds are transferred in Bitcoin? And then there's another question in the chat from Derek around law enforcement, and if any of the modules cover how to investigate Bitcoin types of frauds, particularly for law enforcement. So I think those two are kind of...
Those are great questions. So let me tell you something really, really interesting. The thing that Bitcoin gets a bad rap because people think that Bitcoin is anonymous. Like I just told you, it's not anonymous, it's pseudonymous. So there's an entire division in this, in all cybersecurity departments. In the United States, there's a whole division specifically focused in the FBI to track down cybercrime using cryptocurrencies. And what I got to tell you about when it comes to money laundering and when it comes to criminal uses of cryptocurrencies, it's probably the dumbest thing that anybody could do. Why? Because there's a permanent and immutable record of that transaction. And the moment you can pin who owns that specific Bitcoin address, you can automatically take that person and they can't deny it. They can't erase it. It's permanent and immutable. That forever will be there. So just to give you one example, there was and this is actually covered in the certificate, by the way. So if you're interested in learning more, the certificate talks about this as well. You can audit in the blockchain every single transaction that's ever happened in the history of Bitcoin, down to the first transaction that ever took place on January 3rd, 2009. Every single transaction has a permanent and immutable record. And there was something known as Silk Road, which was a dark web marketplace. It was a place where people used to sell drugs, they sold illegal activities, and they paid in Bitcoin. The people that actually did all those thought that they were safe because they were using Bitcoin. They thought nobody will ever find out I'm buying drugs. Well, guess what? The FBI was able to find out exactly who owned the Bitcoin addresses for the dark web for that Silk Road marketplace. They took him down. The gentleman's name is Ross Ulbricht. He's serving 2 lifelong sentences without possibility of parole. And all because the FBI was able to piece together from different points of identity he was the owner of those Bitcoin addresses. And the proof was there, permanent and immutable. So what I will tell you is when you hear, oh, Bitcoin's used for money laundering, Bitcoin's used for criminal activities, the answer is no. The vast majority of money laundering and criminal activity is done in fiat currency. Because you can simply walk in with a case with billions of dollars, right? And put it in. And then how do you track each one of those dollars? So the point is, the whole world is actually moving to digital currencies. What we look at Bitcoin right now, central banks are launching their own digital currencies. Eventually, you won't walk around with paper bills and coins. Everything will be handled by this. Everything will be digital. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. There's a huge, huge move to actually prevent and actually counter criminal activity using cryptocurrencies.
And so there's a kind of related question, and I think you've covered one that it's asking, is it a scam? It's kind of a wealth loophole, but there's a related question around taxes. Mm-hmm. How will possessing cryptocurrency impact income reporting?
It depends on where you are. Your jurisdictions handle them differently. So for example, here in the United States, there's taxing at the state level. And then there's taxing at the federal level. So for example, in Florida, there's no state taxes, but there's federal taxes. So my tax requirements are different from other states in the United States. So the point is, you're in Canada. In other countries, they're completely different. So what I would recommend is, if you're going to be an investor, you really have to pay it through, because at the end of the day, if you buy some Bitcoin, for example, let's say you got 600 Ether, and then you sell it for $1.4 million, right? Well, at that point, you have to pay capital gains on that. So the key point I want to tell you is that those are things that are very specific to you, and those are best handled by your accountant. And I'm not your accountant; it's your specific.
There are questions just about the certificate specifically, and perhaps I can just speak to them around. There's a question about any kind of financial support available for the courses, for the modules, and I will just highlight that there is a bundling. You can save close to $100, a bundling discount. So if you register for all 3 modules, then you will save an amount on your entire registration fee. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. I believe those are all of the questions that have come through. There were lots of questions around privacy, and I believe Julie, who is our program manager, she has shared the link to the certificate, but I will also mention that, and yes, sorry, fees for course. So the fees, as I mentioned, the fees for each module are $383. If you register for all of the modules together, you will save $90 on the entire cost. Will it be offered again in the future? If you can't make the course this time around, I would suspect that we would be offering it in the future. But we don't have those dates confirmed at this time. So how long does each module take, and is it all online? Yes, it's all online. Each online course is 6 weeks long, and it's expected that students will spend 2 to 4 hours per week on the material. What is the last date to register? So we would recommend that people register sooner rather than later, just so that we can get all of your information in hand to you. And generally the last date to register is a few days before the course start date. The first course will be starting April 1st, as George had mentioned. So we would ideally like to see registrations come in 2 or 3 days. That would be the last day that we would take registrations, 2 to 3 days before. I do want to, we still have lots of people that are hanging on, George, lots of questions. If you have any more questions, we will be sending out an email to all of you later today. It will have a recording of today's webinar, so you can go back and look at any information that, because there was a lot of information covered, so if there's any information you want to receive again, you certainly can look at that on our YouTube channel. As well, I will provide Julie Webb's contact information. She's the program manager, so she can answer any additional questions that you might have. And we'll also include the registration link, so you can go in, review each module, and hopefully that will just dig deeper into some of the information that George was able to provide today. We're getting some great love over in the chat there, George. Some awesome thank yous. So this was fantastic. Lots of information, really interesting, just an exciting industry to learn about, and really hope that all of you are taking away some valuable information for your personal investments, but then also hoping that you'll consider this as an addition to your career, and something that will kind of future-proof your career as something that's really growing, and lots of job opportunities.
One thing that I wanted to end on, I actually had seen a question earlier, which was a really good one, saying, yes, there's like, so many transactions going in. Can you individually see each transaction, actually look at the details? And right now, what I wanted to end on is, this is the first transaction ever in Bitcoin. So I showed you that we were at block over 671,000, and it had so many transactions. This is block 0. This is the first block ever in Bitcoin. And there was one transaction inside, and that transaction had a message inside it. The Times, January 3rd, 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. Remember when I told you that Bitcoin was born at the bottom of the financial crisis. This was the first transaction ever. So what I want to tell you is what's beautiful about Bitcoin and blockchain is that this is preserved permanently and immutably. And you can actually you can go back and look at historic moments all across Bitcoin just by going through a block explorer. And these block explorers, there are many of them. So what I want to tell you is that this technology truly is a revolutionary new approach. And I hope you'll give it have the opportunity to learn more about it. There's a lot more to be learned. Okay.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks so much, George, for your time. Really appreciate it. And lots of love here in the chat. So it's great to see. And stay tuned for the email that will come to all of your inboxes later today. I hope that you'll explore the certificate. And thanks again, George, for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you kindly. And I hope to see you inside the course. Hopefully you'll join me there. There's a lot more to learn. We're changing the world one blockchain at a time.
Awesome. Thanks,
Have
George.
a wonderful day. Thank you.
Okay. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.